I only meant to fix my daughter-in-law's cracked phone screen that night. It was just a small favor, a way to score points at home. But the technician opened it, stared at me, and whispered, "Cancel your cards and get out of that house. Right now." Her screen lit up with messages, bank accounts, and loan profiles, all under my name. At 62, I thought I was too old to be fooled. I was just getting started. My name is Evelyn Hart. I am 62 years old. For 38 of those years, I was the payroll accountant at Summit Lane Textiles, the old brick mill down by the creek. My husband, Frank, has been gone for 10 years. Our small house in Cedar Ridge, Colorado, is quiet, organized, and, most importantly, paid in full. I spent my life balancing ledgers, making sure every cent was accounted for. Retirement was meant to be my reward. The pension was secure, the mortgage was zero, and my life was finally in the black. I live by a simple, clean discipline. Everything has its place. Discipline, however, does not account for blood. My son, Daniel, called me 3 months ago. He is 39, and I still hear the teenager in his voice when he is in trouble. He had been between opportunities, that is the phrase they use now, for a few weeks. His wife, Sabrina, 34, was always adept with her words, smooth as polished glass. And then there was Lily, my granddaughter, 9 years old, bright and polite. The only part of the equation that made perfect sense. They needed a place to stay. Just to get back on our feet. "Mum," Daniel had said. 3 to 6 months, tops, just until I land this new regional manager gig. I looked around my quiet house, the spare room, the silence. "Of course," I said. "Blood opens doors that common sense would keep locked." They arrived with 12 boxes, 2 suitcases, and an energy that immediately overwhelmed the space. Sabrina, in particular, was a whirlwind of sweet efficiency. "Evelyn, you have done too much for too long," she announced, pulling out a laptop. "I am setting up a household budget spreadsheet. We will track everything. We will pull our weight." I appreciated the gesture. I live by spreadsheets. But when the first of the month came, the spreadsheet seemed to allocate the core bills, the property taxes, the utilities, the insurance to my column. Her column was for groceries and household supplies, which seemed to include an awful lot of expensive skincare and subscription boxes. When I queried a charge, she smiled that bright, dismissive smile. "Oh, Evelyn, that is just for the house. It is all shared." I paid it. It was easier than arguing. The second shift happened a week later. My master bedroom is on the main floor, the one Frank and I shared. Sabrina approached me, her brow furrowed with concern. "Evelyn, I hate to ask," she started, "but Lily's room is upstairs, and the bathroom is all the way down here. She gets nervous at night. Would you mind terribly if we, just temporarily, swapped? Your room is right next to the hall bath. It would make things so much easier for her." "For Lily? How do you say no to that?" So I moved my things. I packed my clothes into the small guest room, the one that looks out over the garage. It is a fine room, but it is not mine. "Temporarily," she said. That was 6 weeks ago. Daniel was supposed to be job hunting. He would leave every morning at 9, dressed in his one good suit. "Big interview," he would mutter, adjusting his tie. But he would return late, long after Lily was in bed, and the smell of beer would drift down the hall from my room. "How did it go?" I would ask. Tough market. Mum, stressful. They really grill you. I am an accountant. I know the cost of stress, and I know the cost of a bar tab. The numbers were not adding up. Daniel, my bright boy who loved math, was avoiding my eyes. The small annoyances started piling up like uncashed checks. Little things. My mail seemed lighter. Then, last Tuesday, I was watering the hydrangeas when my neighbour, Mrs. Calloway, waved from across the street. She has lived here longer than I have and misses nothing. Evelyn, you must be redecorating, she called out. I turned off the hose. I am not. Agnes. Why do you say that? All the packages, I saw the truck drop off another one this morning, a big flat box from that fancy electronics store. She squinted. It is nice you are treating yourself, dear. But they keep leaving them in the rain. I had not ordered any electronics. I had not ordered anything. When I checked the porch, there was nothing there. That night, I could not sleep. The house felt wrong. The air was thick with things unsaid. I pulled out my old personal ledger, not a spreadsheet, but a real leather-bound book with green lines. I started making notes. 1 utility bill, doubled. 2 master bedroom, occupied. 3. Daniel's interviews. 4 packages in my name, missing. They were just small things, stray numbers in the wrong columns. I did not know what they added up to yet. I just knew the books were unbalanced. And in my world, unbalanced books mean something is deeply, fundamentally wrong. I am an accountant. My life is built on the principle that numbers do not lie. They are cold, absolute, and predictable. People, I have learned, are the opposite. The first concrete discrepancy was the utility bill. I have paid Cedar Ridge Water and Power for 40 years. My winter bill is, allowing for a standard deviation of perhaps 5%, predictable. This month, it had not just deviated. It had jumped by 100%. It was double. I placed the bill on the kitchen island. Sabrina, I said, keeping my voice level. The electricity is twice the normal amount. She glanced up from her laptop, smiling that easy smile. Oh, Evelyn, is it? It must be the energy prices. Everything is just skyrocketing. I looked at the kilowatt hours used. It was not the price. It was the consumption. I did not say this. I simply paid it. The second discrepancy arrived via my credit card. I had given Sabrina a supplemental card on my oldest account, the one I keep for emergencies and groceries. The agreement was clear food, household necessities. I review my statements online every Friday. This week, there were charges I did not recognize. A charge for $200 from a designer clothing website, another for VR gaming suite. When I asked, Sabrina laughed. That was a mistake, she said, waving her hand. I must have used the wrong card. I will pay you back on the 1st. The 1st of the month came and went. The entry on her budget spreadsheet was marked pending transfer. Then, the digital footprint. I received an automated email from my bank, the one that holds my pension and the house deed. Subject: your account profile has been updated. I opened it. Dear Evelyn Hart, it read. Your primary contact email and statement delivery preference has been successfully updated. The new address was not mine. It was S. Hart. Family. Billing. Followed by a generic email provider. I felt the first cold prickle of alarm. I am meticulous. I do not change my contact information. That afternoon, Daniel found me in the kitchen. He was holding a form. "Mum, I need you to sign this," he said, not quite meeting my eye. "It is just a standard postal authorization. It lets me pick up packages for my freelance work." "What freelance work?" I asked. "It is complicated," he said, his voice tight with that old stress. "Web development. They send hardware. It just makes it easier if I can sign for things." I looked at the form. It looked official. It looked vague. "I will think about it. Daniel?" His irritation was immediate. "Mum, it is just a piece of paper. Why do you have to audit everything?" That night, I tried to log into my bank account. My password, a sequence I have used for a decade, was rejected. Incorrect password. I used the forgot password link. It offered to send a reset code to the new email address. Heart, family, billing. I picked up the phone and dialed the bank's security line. After 20 minutes on hold, a polite young man answered. "I can help you, Mrs. Hart. I just need to verify your identity. What was the name of your first pet?" "Barnaby," I said. A pause. "I am sorry. That is incorrect." "That is impossible," I said. "It has been Barnaby for 30 years. I understand your frustration. Let us try another. What is your registered alternate email?" I gave him my personal email, the one I have had since 1998. "Ma'am, that is not the answer we have on file." I was locked out. The next evening, Sabrina called a family meeting at the dinner table. She presented her master plan. "Evelyn, we are all wasting so much money on fees," she said, her voice full of false sincerity. "It would be so much more efficient, financially, if we just pooled everything into one new family account. I can manage all the bills from there. It will save you the stress." She was offering to take the stress of managing my own money, the money I had earned over 38 years. As this was happening, life in the house continued to fray. Sabrina started having friends over on weekends, loud music, the smell of wine, voices that echoed too late into the night. Lily, my quiet, bright Lily, would slip away from the noise. I would find her in my small room, reading under her blanket. "It is too loud, Grandma," she would whisper. "I know, sweetie." I would set her up in my armchair with hot chocolate and my old headphones. I made sure her door was closed, that the noise stayed outside. She was safe with me, but the house no longer felt like a sanctuary. The final piece landed yesterday. I was checking the mail when Agnes Calloway hurried across her lawn. "Evelyn, thank goodness I caught you." She held out a single, cream-coloured envelope. "This came to my box by mistake. Addressed to you, but my house number." I thanked her and looked at the return address, Cedar Ridge Lending, a payday loan company. I waited until I was in my room. The door locked. I opened it. It was a finalized consumer loan agreement. $4,000, taken out against a high interest rate. My name was at the bottom. My social security number was correct. The signature, however, was a very good, but not perfect, forgery of my own. The numbers finally added up. This was not carelessness. This was not bad budgeting. This was theft. That night, I did not sleep. I waited until I heard Daniel and Sabrina go to bed, until the house was finally silent. I went to the small desk in the living room. I took out my original mortgage papers, my pension statements, my birth certificate, and Frank's death certificate. I took the forged loan agreement. I took the utility bill. I went to the copy shop at 7 in the morning. I made copies of everything. When I returned, I placed the originals in Frank's old fireproof safe box. I locked it. I slid it under the stacks of linens in the hall closet, behind the spare blankets. I am an accountant. I was no longer balancing the books. I was building a case. The opportunity came, as mistakes often do, with the sound of a crash. I was in my small room, reconciling my checking account, when I heard Sabrina cry out from the kitchen, followed by a sharp, "Damn it!" I walked out. Her phone was face down on the tile floor, the glass back spiderwebbed into 1,000 fractures. She looked up, her face a mask of pure frustration. "Evelyn, my screen is completely black." I whacked it on the counter. She was breathing fast, theatrical. "Look, I have a major online meeting in an hour. I cannot miss it. Could you please take this to the shop on Main Street Switch Fix. Just get the screen replaced. I will pay you back immediately." She handed me the phone and 2 $100 bills. "This should cover it." Holding her phone felt strange, like holding a snake. "Of course, dear," I said. "I will take it right now." Switch Fix was a small, bright shop tucked between the bakery and the hardware store. The air smelled of solder and antiseptic cleaning fluid. A young man with dark, intelligent eyes and the name Marco stitched on his shirt was behind the counter. "Screen replacement?" he asked. "Yes. My daughter-in-law dropped it." "Okay, standard procedure. I just need to plug it into the diagnostic rig to check the internals before I open it up." He took the phone, connected a cable, and turned to his monitor. I was browsing the wall of phone cases, my mind calculating the cost of the repair versus the cash she had given me, when I heard him make a small sound. It was a sharp intake of breath. I looked over. He was leaning close to his screen. He was not looking at diagnostics. He was looking at a file directory. "Ma'am," he said, his voice quiet. He did not look at me. He looked at the shop's front door, then back at the screen. "Is your name Evelyn M. Hart?" A cold shock went through me. "Yes." "Why?" He clicked the mouse. An email inbox filled the screen. It was not my inbox. This one was full of order confirmations. Dozens of them. Orders for prepaid burner SIM cards. Welcome emails from digital banks I had never heard of. Transaction alerts for e-wallets I did not know existed. All addressed to Evelyn M. Hart. All sent in the last 60 days. "She is using your identity," Marco whispered. He clicked again. A password manager application opened. It was a vault. Inside, neatly labeled, were my bank logins, my pension portal, and my credit card numbers. And then I saw it. A file named EMHSSN card. He clicked it. A high-resolution photo of my social security card filled the screen. My card. The one I kept locked in my fireproof box in the linen closet. My breath left my chest. I felt dizzy, the floor tilting, and I gripped the edge of the counter to keep from falling. She must have gone through my things. Marco looked at me, his face pale with a stranger's anger. He reached under the counter and hit a button on his printer. Then he gently, urgently, tugged my sleeve. He brought his voice down to a bare whisper. "Ma'am, listen to me. I see this. Not like this. Not family. But I see it. This is organized. This is not just stealing. This is a full identity takeover." He pointed to the screen. "She is building a new financial profile with your name. She is running up debt." He looked at the front door again. Paranoid. You need to cancel your cards. All of them. You need to change every password you have. And you need to get out of that house. Tonight. Do you understand? People who do this do not stop. The printer whirred behind him. He pulled out 5 pages of text. This is a list of all the services I can see linked, all the accounts she opened. He pushed the papers toward me. I can call the police. We can call them right now. My mind was racing. The accountant overriding the panic. Police. Reports. They would confront Daniel and Sabrina. They would deny it. The phone would be wiped. The evidence would vanish. No, I whispered. My voice was shaking, but my mind was clicking into place. Not yet. I need evidence. They will just deny it. Ma'am, this is the evidence. It is on her phone. I need it somewhere else. Can you copy this? He looked at me, his eyes wide. He hesitated, then nodded. I can image the drive, but it is illegal. It is her property. It is my life, I said. Please. How long? 10 minutes. Do it. And give me 5 days. I need 5 days to get everything in order before I call anyone. He nodded, a silent agreement, and plugged in a small, black hard drive. As he worked, my own phone vibrated in my pocket. A text from Sabrina. Is it done? My hands were trembling so badly I could barely type. I took a deep breath, forcing the adrenaline down. They had to order the part. We'll be ready tomorrow. Ugh. Fine. Just hurry. Marco finished the copy and handed me a small USB drive. It felt heavier than a brick. He put the broken phone in a plastic bag. I will tell her the logic board was fried from the impact, and the data port is dead. It is plausible. It gives you time. I paid him for the diagnostic. I left the $200 on the counter. For your trouble. I did not go straight home. I walked 2 blocks down to the dollar store and bought a cheap, prepaid burner phone and a top-up card. I activated it in the parking lot. This phone would have one purpose, contacting a lawyer and my bank. I went to the library, using their public computer. I logged into my real email, the one she had not compromised. I changed the password to a 32-character randomized string. I went to my credit bureau accounts. I froze my credit. All 3 bureaus. I set up real-time transaction alerts for every dollar, sent to my new burner number. I drove home. The small USB drive a cold weight in my pocket. I parked in the garage, my garage, and looked at my house. I sat in the car for a full minute, the engine off. The fear was still there, a cold sickness in my stomach. But something else was rising alongside it. It was the same feeling I got at the end of the fiscal year, staring at a complex audit. It was the cold, sharp focus of a problem that needed to be solved. I went inside, walked into my small room, and locked the door. I looked at myself in the small mirror over the dresser. My hair was grey. My face was lined. I looked like a victim. I am not weak, I whispered to the woman in the glass. I took out my old ledger and a new pen. I turned to a blank page. The counter-offensive had begun. My ledger, my pen, my new burner phone. I sat in a hard-backed chair at the Cedar Ridge Public Library. This was not my home. It was neutral territory, a temporary command center. For 38 years? I had balanced spreadsheets. This was no different. It was just a new, hostile audit. I opened a fresh document on a text editor. I wrote 4 lines. 1. Stop all financial hemorrhaging. 2. Secure and back up all digital evidence. 3. Protect the primary asset, this house. 4. Protect Lily. This was my new balance sheet. These were the only accounts that mattered. Action on 1. I walked out of the library, not to my car, but to the bus stop. I rode 2 towns over. I entered a branch of a national bank, one I had never used. I opened a basic checking account using my driver's license and passport. In the lobby, I used my burner phone. I called my pension administrator. I called the Social Security office. I redirected all future deposits to the new account. It would take 1 business cycle, perhaps 10 days. I had that long. Next, I called the fraud department of my old bank. I am reporting all my cards stolen, I said. The call recording app I installed now active. Yes, all of them. The supplemental, the primary, and the debit. I had them freeze the accounts. I did the same with the 3 credit bureaus. My financial identity was now on ice. Action on 2. I returned to the library. My next call, also recorded, was to a number I found online, the Mountain View Legal Aid Society. I described my situation in cold, accounting terms. They gave me a name, Ariana Cole, a lawyer who specialized in elder financial abuse. She was based in Denver, but held a virtual clinic for our county. I scheduled a video call for the next afternoon, using the library's private study booth. I had the USB drive from Marco. I spent that night reviewing the data, my stomach in knots. It was all there. Sabrina's browser history, how to forge signatures on PDF. Best high-interest rate consumer loans. How to add to house deed without notary. Colorado spousal property rights. He had also copied her cloud backup. I checked my physical safe box, still buried in the linen closet, my original deed, my original Social Security card, my will. They were all there, untouched. She had not taken the originals. She had only photographed them. When I met Ariana Cole over the video link, she was not what I expected. She was young, sharp, and wore a steel grey jacket. She did not waste time with sympathy. "Tell me what you have, Mrs. Hart." I showed her. I showed her the bank alerts, the e-wallet confirmations, the payday loan agreement. Then I showed her the folder from Sabrina's cloud. "She photographed my safe," I said. "And she was practicing." I clicked on a file named Deed Addendum v3.pdf. It was a scan of my actual deed. But she had added a new page, a quitclaim addendum, gifting joint tenancy to Daniel and Sabrina Hart. My signature was at the bottom, a near-perfect forgery. Action on 3. Ariana's face hardened. "She is in your house, practicing how to steal it. You need to secure the premises." The next morning, I used the cash Sabrina had given me for the phone. I bought a high-definition doorbell camera and 2 small, Wi-Fi-enabled indoor cameras. I checked the Colorado state law. 1-party consent for audio recording. Video in common areas was permissible as long as I, the homeowner, consented. I placed 1 camera in the kitchen, angled toward the back door and the desk where my mail landed. I put the other in the living room. I did not put them near bedrooms or bathrooms. This was not about violating their privacy. It was about documenting my own reality. Action on 4. That evening, the house was tense. Sabrina was furious about her dead phone. Daniel was drinking. The atmosphere was brittle. I found Lily in her room, trying to read. I kept my voice gentle, normal. "Lily, sweetie, Grandma is going to be doing some deep cleaning, and the house might get noisy." I handed her a new book I had picked up at the library. I spoke to Mrs. Calloway. Anytime you feel like it is too loud, I want you to go right next door. She is expecting you. She has cookies, and you can read in her sunroom. It is our new quiet reading plan. I did not ask her to take sides. I did not mention her parents. I just gave her a safe harbor. She hugged me, a quick, tight squeeze. Okay, Grandma. The next day, I had my second call with Ariana. I had uploaded the key files to her secure server, the forged deed, the loan, the bank account list from Marco. They are getting agitated, I told her. Daniel keeps asking me if I am ready to simplify the estate by signing some papers. Ariana was looking at the forged deed on her screen. She looked at the payday loan. She looked at the long list of burner sims. She was silent for a long moment. Finally, she looked up, her eyes meeting mine through the camera. Mrs. Hart, you are not just a victim. You are a records keeper, she said. The attempted deed forgery, combined with the active identity theft, gives us leverage. She nodded, a short, sharp motion. We have enough. We have more than enough. I am filing for an emergency protective order and a temporary financial injunction. Today, the confrontation came, as I knew it would, in my own kitchen. The new camera above the refrigerator was humming silently, its small blue light covered with a piece of black tape. Sabrina had called another family meeting on a Tuesday morning, right after Lily left for school. She slid a thick, professional-looking blue folder onto the table. It was labeled Hart Family Future Security. Evelyn? We have been thinking, Sabrina began, her voice radiating false warmth. With the way the market is, and for estate planning, it is just so much smarter to have everything streamlined. She pushed the folder toward me. This is just some standard paperwork to add Daniel and me as co-owners on the house. It just simplifies things, cuts down on probate if anything happens. I opened the folder. Inside was the very same forged deed addendum v3.pdf I had seen on her computer. It was printed on heavy, official-looking paper. She was handing me the weapon. I played my role. I put on my reading glasses, my hands feigning a slight tremor. Oh, this looks so complicated. Sabrina, co-owners, that sounds so permanent. I looked up, trying to look confused. And I have been meaning to ask you. Dear, I had to cancel my credit cards. The bank called about strange charges. I did not say I had called them. I know you had the supplementary card. Did you notice anything? There was a charge for a gaming system, $200, and so many online purchases. Sabrina's smile tightened, just a fraction. Evelyn, we talked about that. I told you I must have used the wrong card. I am paying you back. This, she tapped the folder, is about the future, not about a few accidental charges. Daniel, who had been staring into his coffee mug, finally spoke. His voice was thick. Mum, it just makes sense. A son should be on the paperwork, so I can take care of you. It is just cleaner. He did not look at me. His eyes were fixed on the wood grain of the table. Take care of me, I repeated. The words tasted like ash. I see. You are right. We absolutely must be clear about things. I reached into my pocket and pulled out the small, silver digital voice recorder I had purchased with the cameras. I placed it on the table, midway between us. I pressed the record button. A small red light clicked on. Sabrin's eyes snapped to it. What is that? It is a recorder. I said, my voice perfectly calm. Daniel is right. We need to be clear. I am 62. My memory is not what it used to be. This was a lie, but a useful one. I just want to make sure I remember everything we agree to, so there are no misunderstandings. The air in the room changed. It went from tense to brittle. There is nothing to misunderstand. Mum, Daniel said, his voice rising. Then you will not mind, I said. Now, Sabrina, you said this was just paperwork. I turned a page. This quitclaim deed says I am gifting my equity to you. That is not simplifying. That is a transfer of assets. Sabrina shifted. She was trying to get her script back. It is just legal language. Evelyn, it protects the house for all of us. For Lily. And the new bank account you wanted to open. The family one. I asked. How would that work with my pension? We would just link them, she said, her frustration showing. It would be so much easier than you trying to manage everything, trying to remember all those passwords. I could just handle it from my password app, all in one place. She froze. The words hung in the silence. My password app. The one Marco had shown me. The one with my social security card saved in it. I did not react. I just let the silence stretch. The small red light on the recorder blinking. The kitchen door opened. Lily was back. She must have forgotten her lunchbox. She stood in the doorway, her small face taking in the three of us, frozen around the table. Grandma, she asked, her voice small. I forgot my lunch. The tension broke. I immediately stood up, my entire posture changing. I smiled, a real, warm smile. Oh, sweetie. You did. Let us get that. I walked to the counter, pulled out the lunchbox, and opened it to slip in an extra cookie. There you go. Now hurry. The bus will be waiting. I walked her to the door, kissed the top of her head, and watched until she was safely on the sidewalk. I closed the door. I walked back to the table. I sat down. The recorder was still on. My voice was cold. A password app. Sabrina. Daniel exploded. He slammed his fist onto the kitchen table, rattling the coffee mugs. Stop it, he yelled, his face purple. Stop trying to trick her. Just sign the damn papers. Mum, why do you have to be so difficult? I did not flinch. I looked him dead in the eye. Daniel, I said, my voice low and clear. You will lower your voice in my house. If you ever slam your hand on my table like that again, I will not hesitate. I will pick up this phone and I will dial 911. Is that understood? He stared at me, his rage collapsing into stunned silence. He had never heard that tone from me. Sabrina stood up abruptly, grabbing the folder. Her face was pale. She had lost control. You know what, you are clearly not feeling well. Evelyn, you are confused. She shoved the papers back into her bag. We will table this, for when you are thinking more clearly. She and Daniel left the room. I sat there, listening to the sound of their bedroom door, my bedroom door slamming shut. I turned off the recorder. I sat in the silence of my kitchen. I had it. I had her confession. A minute later, my burner phone vibrated in my pocket. I pulled it out. It was a new text alert. A security notification from my new secret bank. It was not a deposit. It was an email from my old bank's security system, forwarded from the address I had on file. A request to change the password for your account, Evelyn M. Hart, has been received. If this was not you, Please contact us immediately. They had retreated, but they were not stopping. They were trying again, right now, from inside my house. Ariana moved faster than I could have imagined. The recording from the kitchen, combined with the data from Marco and the forged deed, was enough. A judge, seeing the active, ongoing attempts to access my accounts, had fast-tracked the hearing. 2 days later, Ariana called me on the burner phone. "Evelyn," she said, her voice crisp. "The judge has signed the emergency orders, a temporary financial injunction and an electronic access protective order. We are serving them tonight. 7 p.m. Are you safe?" "Yes," I said, looking out the window. "They are otherwise occupied?" It was Friday. Sabrina had decided, in a baffling display of confidence, to host a backyard barbecue. She had invited her loud friends, the ones whose laughter always sounded sharp. The backyard was filled with smoke, the thump of bass rattling the windows. I was sitting in my small room, watching the minutes on my clock tick towards 7. At exactly 7:01, my new doorbell camera sent an alert to my burner phone. I saw Ariana Cole on the step, dressed in a severe charcoal suit. She was not alone. She was flanked by 2 uniformed officers from the Cedar Ridge Police. A third person, a woman in a professional blue blazer carrying a briefcase, stood just behind them. I opened the door before they could ring. "Mrs. Hart," Ariana said, her face set. I nodded. "They are in the back." I led them through my house, through the living room, through the kitchen. The music was so loud they did not hear us coming. I slid open the glass patio door. The sound cut off instantly. One of Sabrina's friends, reaching for a beer, had seen the uniforms and hit pause on the speaker. Sabrina was at the grill, tongs in one hand, a glass of red wine in the other. She was laughing. The laugh died on her lips. Her eyes went from Ariana to the uniforms, and then to me. It was a look of pure, unadulterated venom. "Sabrina Hart, Daniel Hart." Ariana's voice was not loud, but it cut through the backyard like a blade. Every guest, all 12 of them, froze. "You are being served." She stepped forward and handed them the papers. "This is a temporary injunction from the county court. As of this moment, all financial transactions in the name of Evelyn M. Hart are to cease. All accounts are frozen, pending judicial review." She looked at Sabrina. "This is a court order prohibiting you from accessing, or attempting to access, any of Mrs. Hart's electronic accounts, devices, or financial instruments." The silence was absolute. Then, a quiet shuffle. The guests, one by one, began to gather their things. They avoided looking at Sabrina, avoided looking at the police. They just melted away, silent and embarrassed, leaving their half-eaten plates behind. Daniel collapsed. It was not slow. It was immediate. He sank onto a patio chair, his head in his hands. "It was her," he whimpered, pointing a shaking finger at his wife. "It was all her. I told her to stop. I told her you would find out. I just wanted to help. Mum, she did this." Sabrina set the wine glass down. Her hand was perfectly steady. "Help, Evelyn. This is a ridiculous misunderstanding." Her voice was high, projecting to the officers. "I was simply optimizing our family's finances. You are elderly. You get confused. I was managing your portfolio to protect our assets. This is an outrage." "Is optimizing what you call applying for high-interest loans in your mother-in-law's name?" Ariana asked. She pulled a sheaf of papers from her own briefcase, the printouts from SwitchFix. The court was very interested in your browser history. And this. She held up the top sheet. A list of digital wallets and bank accounts, all tied to the unique hardware ID of your personal laptop. While Ariana spoke, the woman in the blue blazer, a social worker named Ms. Evans, had moved to the side of the yard where Lily was sitting, watching everything with wide, quiet eyes. Ms. Evans knelt, not touching her, just speaking in a low, gentle voice. Hi, Lily. My name is Maria. I am here to make sure everyone is safe. She spoke to her about school, about her room, about her favorite books. It was calm, reassuring. I saw Lily relax, just a fraction. It was the only humane thing that had happened all evening. One of the officers stepped forward. Ma'am, he said to Sabrina, the order requires you to surrender any and all devices containing the data listed in this warrant. Sabrina's face was white. She went inside. The officers followed. They returned with her laptop. From Daniel's desk in the master bedroom, they retrieved a small box. Inside were 2 unactivated burner SIM cards and a tablet. The officer powered on the tablet. The lock screen lit up, showing a digital wallet application, waiting for a login. It was registered to E.M. Hart. Ariana delivered the final terms. The court grants Mrs. Hart temporary and exclusive stewardship of this residence and all financial decisions. You will be restricted for 72 hours while the court reviews the next steps. You will not access her funds. You will not access her home, except under supervision. Daniel was openly weeping now, a pathetic, gulping sound. Sabrina just stared at me. The hatred in her eyes was so cold, so pure. It was almost stabilizing. She waited until Ariana and the officers were bagging the evidence. She took one step toward me, and her voice was a low, dangerous whisper, meant only for me. You have no idea who you are messing with. Sabrina's warning, you have no idea who you are messing with, was not a threat. It was a confession. The 72-hour injunction gave Ariana and the police forensics team time to dissect the tablet and laptop. The picture that emerged was far darker than simple family greed. Ariana called me on the secure line. Evelyn, the money trails are confusing. The payday loan was just the tip. There are transfers from the e-wallets, but they are not going to Daniel or Sabrina. They are going to a single, anonymous holding account. She had brought in Marco from SwitchFix, signing him on as an expert consultant to verify the chain of evidence from the original phone image. He was the one who saw the pattern. I have seen this before, he told Ariana over a conference call. This email structure, the way the temporary accounts are named, it is a signature. It links back to a place called Front Range Pawn and Title. They are technically a pawn shop, but they are really a front for a loan sharking operation. They prey on people with bad credit. Ariana was quiet for a moment. Front Range, she repeated. She was typing. I am cross-referencing that with the data from Sabrina's laptop, her calendar. She had weekly consulting meetings. A name clicked into place. Gavin Pike. He was listed on Sabrina's contacts as her financial advisor. A quick records check by Ariana's team revealed Gavin Pike was the proprietor of Front Range Pawn. He specialized in credit cleanup. His method, it seemed, was to find desperate clients like Sabrina drowning in consumer debt and desperate for a luxury lifestyle, and teach them how to leverage assets by opening new lines of credit in the names of their elderly, stable asset-holding relatives. Sabrina was not the mastermind. She was the middleman. This changed the equation. This was why Daniel had been so integral. We found him at a cheap motel on the highway, nursing a beer at 10 in the morning. Ariana and a detective met him. I stayed in the car. He broke in less than 5 minutes. It was not just Sabrina's debt. It was his gambling debts. Thousands of dollars owed to Gavin Pike. He said he would wipe my slate clean. Daniel confessed, his voice recorded by the detective. He said it was a victimless crime. We would just borrow your credit rating, use the equity, and pay it back before you ever knew. He just needed access. He needed the postal authorization. He needed me to get you to sign. Sabrina was greedy, but Daniel was weak. He had sold me to save himself. We have Sabrina on the hook, Ariana told me back in her office. We have Daniel's confession, but this does not stop Gavin Pike. He will just find another Sabrina, another Evelyn. He is the head of the snake. We need to cut it off. She leaned forward. Evelyn. He is a predator. The DA wants to pursue this, but they need him caught in the act of solicitation. His defense will be that he just gives advice and his clients act illegally. What do you want me to do? I asked. We are going to set a trap, Ariana said. You are going to call Gavin Pike. The plan was cold, strategic. I was to be the duped old woman, terrified by her son's incompetence and her daughter-in-law's betrayal. I was to call Gavin directly, claiming I found his number in Sabrina's things, and I needed a real professional to protect what was left. The next day, I sat in a monitored room at the police station. An officer sat next to me. I dialed the number for Front Range Pawn. Gavin Pike speaking. His voice was smooth, like expensive whiskey. Mr. Pike, I began, letting my voice quaver just enough. My name is Evelyn Hart. I am Sabrina's mother-in-law. I believe you know her. She and my son, they have made a terrible mess of my finances. A calculated pause. Mrs. Hart, he said, his voice dripping with sympathy. I am so glad you called. I was worried about you. Sabrina was ambitious, but sloppy. Your assets are deeply at risk. I need help, I whispered. I need to move my house, put it somewhere safe, maybe in a trust, under a different name. That is exactly the right instinct, he said warmly. You need to act fast, before the courts freeze everything. We should meet. Just you and me. We can sort this out this afternoon. We met at a quiet hotel coffee shop. I wore a small wire. 2 plainclothes detectives sat at the bar, reading newspapers. Gavin Pike was immaculate. He wore a $300 shirt and a compassionate smile. He laid out the entire plan, believing I was his new client. The mistake Sabrina made was trying to use her own devices, he explained, sipping an espresso. The key, Evelyn, is plausible deniability. We will set up a new corporate entity in your name. We will transfer the deed. But to do it fast, we need to verify your identity. The banks will send a one-time password. He smiled. We will use my phone, registered as your trusted device. The bank sends the code to me. I approve the transfer. By morning, your house, your pension, everything is insulated, cleaned, safe. We can wipe out the accounts before that lawyer of yours even files her next motion. He was calmly, confidently describing grand theft, wire fraud, and identity theft, all while a detective recorded it. "Thank you, Mr. Pike," I said, standing up. "You have given me so much clarity. We had his voice, we had his method, but we did not have his operation." That night, Ariana and Marco were reviewing the original data image from Sabrina's broken phone, looking for the physical address of the anonymous holding account. "Wait," Marco said. "This is not financial data. This is her GPS location log. She turned it off mostly, but it auto-saved a few pings. Look, once a week. Every Friday at 2 p.m. He zoomed in on a map. It is not front-range porn. It is a nondescript office park 12 miles away." Ariana checked the address against the state's corporate registry. "We got him," she whispered. "The GPS leads to a leased office. The name on the lease, Gavin Pike Consulting, LLC. The leased office was on the 3rd floor of an anonymous glass building by the highway. It was 8 p.m. The fluorescent lights of the hallway contrasted sharply with the dim, expensive quiet inside Gavin Pike's consulting room. I was there, wired again, playing the final scene. Gavin slid a thick stack of papers across the polished mahogany desk. "As I mentioned, Evelyn, this is simply an asset protection maneuver." His voice was a calming baritone. "Given the distress Sabrina has caused you, I am waiving my standard $5,000 service fee. You just need to sign here and here. A simple transfer to the new corporate entity." I feigned the tremor in my hand again. I picked up the pen. "Mr. Pike, I am just an old woman. This all seems so fast. Are you absolutely certain this is legal?" Gavin chuckled, a sound without humor. He leaned back in his leather chair. "Legal," he repeated. "Mrs. Hart, this is family business. The courts are slow, blunt instruments. We are performing surgery. When it is about securing your life's work from a greedy daughter-in-law, legal is whatever feels right. And protecting your home feels right. Does it not?" "It does," I whispered. "But Sabrina had so many files. How do I know this is safe?" "Amateurs?" He scoffed. "Sabrina was an amateur. She left a messy trail." He turned to the large black server tower humming quietly in the corner. "Let me show you what a professional archive looks like. Secure, clean." This was the signal Ariana was waiting for. The warrant was for the server, but they needed him to access it, to prove he was the operator. He clicked the mouse. His monitor lit up, displaying a database. It was a list of names. Pike, Gavin, admin. And below that, a list of clients. My name was at the very top. Hart, Evelyn M., pending acquisition. Below mine were dozens of other names, other elderly-sounding names from Cedar Ridge. The door to the office opened without a knock. Ariana Cole stepped in, flanked by 2 plainclothes detectives. Marco was behind them, holding a kit. Gavin Pike stood up. The compassionate smile was gone, replaced by a mask of cold fury. "You have no right to be here. This is a private consultation. This woman is my client." "No, Mr. Pike," I said, setting the pen down. "I am her client." Ariana held up the warrant. "Gavin Pike, you are served with a search warrant for these premises, all electronic devices, and that server, in connection with conspiracy to commit wire fraud and financial elder abuse." "This is entrapment," Gavin hissed. I was providing standard financial advice. Marco stepped forward, plugging a device into the server. Detective, the hardware ID matches the routing logs from Mrs. Hart's network. This is the machine. The office door burst open again. It was Sabrina. She was not the polished, arrogant woman from my kitchen. She was pale. Her hair was a mess, and her eyes were wide with genuine terror. She saw the police. She saw Gavin. And she saw me. Evelyn. Wait. She gasped, ignoring everyone else. She looked at me, desperate. He squeezed me. He said if I did not get you to sign the new papers, he would take Lily. He said he would report me for the first fraud and make sure I lost custody. She was trembling. He was using me. I was afraid of him. I looked at Ariana. My lawyer gave a slight, sharp nod. This was my leverage. You want a deal? Sabrina. I asked, my voice as cold and hard as the glass desk. Yes. Anything. You will sign a sworn affidavit, right now, detailing everything you did and everything he instructed you to do. You will surrender every password to every hidden account, and you will sign a legally binding repayment plan for every single dollar you stole. Yes, she whispered, relief washing over her face. Yes. A third figure appeared in the doorway. It was Daniel. He looked like a ghost. He walked past the detectives, past his wife. He stopped in front of me, his body shaking. Mum, he choked out, the tears streaming down his face. I am sorry. I knew, and I let it happen. I signed the postal forms. I knew. He looked at Ariana, then at the detectives. A man surrendering. I will accept the financial liability. It is mine, too. I will sign whatever I have to. I am sorry. Mum. One of the detectives stepped toward Gavin Pike, pulling out handcuffs. Gavin did not resist. He simply straightened his expensive cuffs as the metal clicked shut. He looked at me, his eyes dead. You think this is over? He said. They led him out. Daniel was giving his statement, sobbing. Sabrina was already talking to Ariana, the words pouring out of her. Ariana looked at me amidst the quiet chaos of the office, the blinking server light a beacon in the dim room. No, she said, but the picture is clear. The courtroom was not a place of high drama. It was a place of accounting. It was sterile, beige, and lit by fluorescent lights that buzzed faintly overhead. There was no jury, only the judge. This was a hearing to finalize the protective orders and approve the plea agreements. It was a ledger being balanced. The prosecutor, a young, methodical man, did not raise his voice. He simply presented the data. Your Honor, the evidence is a complete and closed loop. He gestured to a screen. We have the device logs from Mrs. Hart's home network. We have the IP addresses from the fraudulent loan applications. Those IPs trace directly to the tablet and laptop seized from Sabrina and Daniel Hart, and to the server in Gavin Pike's leased office. He walked the judge through the digital wallet transactions, the burner SIM card purchase receipts, and the final, damning evidence, the client list from Gavin's server. He was not just an advisor, the prosecutor said. He was the architect of a systematic campaign to defraud the elderly of this county. Sabrina was called first. She was not the woman I knew. She wore a plain grey suit. Her hair was pulled back, and her face was scrubbed clean of makeup. Her voice was flat, almost robotic, as she answered her lawyer's questions. Did Mr. Pike instruct you to photograph Mrs. Hart's personal documents? Yes. Did he provide the template for the forged deed addendum? Yes. And you did these things in exchange for his assistance in managing your personal debts? Yes. Her plea agreement was read into the record: 5 years of probation, mandatory financial counseling, and a full restitution order. She would be paying me back for the next 20 years. Then came Daniel. He looked old. He pleaded guilty to financial complicity and conspiracy. His lawyer spoke for him. My client, Your Honor, has already enrolled in a 90-day inpatient program for alcohol and gambling addiction. He acknowledges his profound failure and accepts full financial responsibility, separate from his wife's, for his part in this. He, too, would be paying me back. The judge, a woman with tired, intelligent eyes, finally turned to me. Mrs. Hart, I have reviewed the terms of these agreements, but I am issuing my own permanent orders. She was direct. First, a permanent civil protective order is granted to Evelyn Hart. Daniel Hart and Sabrina Hart are prohibited, permanently, from contacting, harassing, or accessing, by any electronic means, any financial instrument, account, or property belonging to Mrs. Hart. She looked at them. Let me be clear. You will not email her. You will not text her. You will not use a third party to attempt to access her bank account. A violation of this is not a civil matter. It is a criminal one. You will go to jail. She continued. Second, the residence at 41 Cedar Drive, Mrs. Hart, is granted full, sole, and exclusive right of possession. Mr. and Mrs. Hart, you will be permitted to retrieve your personal belongings tomorrow, between the hours of noon and 4 p.m., under the supervision of a civil sheriff. You will take only your clothes, your personal effects, and Lily's belongings. Nothing else. After that, you will not set foot on that property again. Then, Lily, Ms. Evans, the social worker, presented her report. Your Honor, the child, Lily, is safe and well cared for by her mother. She shows no signs of abuse, only stress from the domestic conflict. It is my recommendation she remain in her mother's custody, with temporary weekly check-ins from my office. The judge nodded. So ordered, Mrs. Hart, she said to me. Visits with your granddaughter will be arranged through Miss Evans's office. They will be regular. The child has done nothing wrong here. Finally, she turned to Gavin Pike. He stood, flanked by his lawyer, his expensive suit looking rumpled. Mr. Pike, the judge said, her voice dropping, you are not a financier. You are a predator. You took a family's dysfunction and you monetized it. You are the worst kind of thief. She sentenced him to 10 to 15 years in state prison and ordered him to pay restitution to every name on his server. The judge looked at me one last time. Mrs. Hart, do you wish to make a statement? The courtroom was silent. I stood up. I did not look at Daniel or Sabrina. I did not look at Gavin. I looked at the judge. I am taking my name back. I sat down. In the hallway, a reporter from the Cedar Ridge Gazette tried to ask me a question. Ariana stepped in. No comment. The article the next day was titled, Local Accountant Uncovers Elder Fraud Ring. My name was not in it, just the way I wanted. I was standing by the elevators when Ms. Evans walked out, holding Lily's hand. Grandma. Lily let go of the social worker's hand and ran to me, burying her face in my coat. I held her, my eyes closing, breathing in the smell of her hair. It was the first time I had felt safe in months. I looked up, over the top of Lily's head. Sabrina was standing 20 feet away, watching us. She was holding a single cardboard box with her remaining possessions. There was no anger in her face, no calculation. For the first time, I saw what looked like real, devastating regret. She just watched her daughter hug me, and then the elevator doors opened, and she was gone. The house was quiet, too quiet. It had been a month since the hearing. The first of Daniel's court-ordered repayments was due the next day. I was balancing my new checkbook in my old kitchen, at my old desk. Everything was back in its place. Then, my burner phone buzzed, a new alert from my new bank. Urgent, a wire transfer request for $2,000 has been initiated. Please confirm. My blood ran cold. It was the same method, the same emergency protocol. But how all my accounts were locked down? I called Ariana. He is trying again, or someone is. That is impossible, she said. Your accounts are flagged 6 ways. Let me call the bank's fraud unit. Stay off your main phone. She called back 10 minutes later. Her voice was grim. It is a SIM swap attack. Someone called your phone provider, impersonated you, and tried to port your new number to a blank SIM card. They were trying to intercept the 2-factor authentication code. It was Gavin's signature, even from a prison cell. He was not done. I went to my new security camera feed. I scrolled back 1 hour. There. A figure in a grey hoodie, face hidden, walking too slowly past my house. The figure stopped, peered into my mailbox, and then walked on. Ariana, I said, my voice steady. They were at my house. They were checking the mail, probably for a new card or the SIM. He has a runner, Ariana said. He is still trying to liquidate your assets. Evelyn, we can catch him. The bank is willing to play along. We can set up a dummy account, a honeypot, and approve a small transfer. We can trace where the runner tries to withdraw it. The plan was simple. We would bait the trap. We would approve a $500 transfer to a digital wallet. The police would have a geographic trace on the withdrawal point the second the money was touched. I sat in my living room, watching the camera feed, watching the empty street. There was a knock on the door. Not a ring. A soft, hesitant knock. I looked at the doorbell camera. It was Daniel. He was alone. He looked thin and sober. I opened the door. Daniel. Mom, he said. He did not try to come in. He stood on the welcome mat. I just heard. On the police scanner. A friend told me. They are talking about a SIM swap. About your address. It is being handled, I said. No, he said, looking past me into the house. You should not be here alone, not if he is still trying. He took a deep breath. Where is Lily? She is not here, I said. She is with a friend. Good. He looked at me, his eyes clear for the first time in years. Mum, go to Mrs. Calloway's. Take Lily, lock the door. I am staying here. I am going to sit on this porch, and no one is coming to your mailbox. Not again. He was, for the first time, standing on the right side of the door. He was protecting me. Go, he said. I took Lily from her playdate and brought her to Mrs. Calloway's. I sat in her sunroom, watching my own house across the street. I watched my son sit on the front step, a silent, unmoving guardian. 2 hours later, Ariana called. We got him, she said. The runner tried to pull the cash from an ATM at a gas station 10 miles away. They had a team waiting. He is in custody. He was Gavin's last lieutenant. The chain was finally truly broken. The next day, just before noon, 2 cars pulled up. The first was Sabrina. She got out, holding a white envelope. She walked to the front door, where Daniel was waiting. She did not speak to him. She just handed me the envelope. Inside was cash. The first repayment. "I am moving to Denver," she said to me, her voice quiet. "I have a job. I will send the next payment on the 1st. She handed Daniel a second, thicker envelope. "These are separation papers. I filed this morning." She was cutting all her losses. She was starting her own ledger. Daniel did not open it. He just nodded. He turned to me, holding his own envelope. "Mum, this is my repayment plan. Signed, notarized. The first payment from my new job is in there. I am starting over, the right way." I did not hug him. I did not cry. I just took the envelope. "All right, Daniel," I said. "Start over." That night, after they were both gone, I called a locksmith. I had every lock in the house changed. I went onto my computer and systematically deleted every trusted device from every account. I reset every password. I went to my desk. I took a small, white, sticky note. I wrote 5 sentences on it and stuck it inside my old ledger, the one I had hidden in the linen closet. "My name is Evelyn Hart. I am 62 years old. This house is mine. This property is mine. This life is in my name." I slept in my own bed that night. The next morning, I was making coffee when I heard a small, happy knock at the front door. It was Lily, brought by Ms. Evans for her weekend visit. She ran in and hugged me. "I made this for you, Grandma." She handed me a piece of paper, a drawing in bright crayon. It was a picture of my house, but she had drawn a big, yellow, shining sun over it. At the bottom, in a child's careful letters, she had written, "My safe house." I smiled, a real smile. I took her hand, and I closed the front door behind us. Thank you so much for listening to my story. I would love to know where you are tuning in from. So please drop a comment below, share your thoughts, and let us connect. Remember to subscribe to Lily Revenge Stories, like this video, and give us a little extra support by hitting that hype button so this story can be